The woman that you spent a lot of time with, created a lot of memories with, went on holidays with, the person that you messaged every single day is now no longer part of your life. And you're going through a tough time right now. One of the most painful experiences you'll ever have to face as a man. And I personally can relate. I've been through this myself. The last breakup that I was in, which was just over 2.5 years ago, I was in a relationship for 7 years. We had a house together, we had cars together, and we shared a lot of memories. We traveled a lot of times. And this person, this woman, decided that she no longer wanted to be part of the relationship. So she packed her bags and she left. She said she couldn't do it anymore. And I was completely torn. I was very broken. And it's almost identical to losing a loved one. And that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I wanted to discuss the post-breakup death that you're more than likely experiencing right now, or that you have experienced before. And this is something that not a lot of people talk about, so I want to dive deeper into this topic. And there are two types of losses. The first loss that you'll experience, or you may have experienced already, is when you lose a loved one, a friend, a relative. The reason why it's a lot easier to grieve or move forward from this is because that person is no longer emotionally or physically present in your life. So you have the funeral, you remember the good times, and then you move forward. And the second type of loss is what's called a type 2 ambiguous loss. This is when you go through what's called the breakup death. And this is when the person is no longer emotionally present, but they're physically present. Okay, this is literally the most painful experience you'll go through. This is why going through a breakup, when someone breaks up with you, it's far more difficult to move forward because they're physically present. They're still alive. Okay, the pain keeps returning, keeping you trapped in this never-ending cycle of grief. Reason being is because they're still on social media. You might bump into their friends, maybe their family members. Maybe you keep looking at the memories, but knowing that they're physically alive makes it a lot more harder to move forward. So the grieving process is really difficult. Now, when you're at this point, right, going through this breakup, you got two options essentially. Okay, you can either stay in a severe depressed state, lock yourself in your room, not want to deal with anything, let yourself go, maybe go down a path of self-sabotage, self-destruction. Or you can learn to start to grieve, start to heal yourself from this breakup. And there are two types of losses. The first is an ambiguous loss. This is where you experience a death. Let's say a family member, a friend, a relative. They're emotionally absent and physically absent. So think about the last time you even went to a funeral or lost someone close to you. You would have went to the funeral. You would have let out your emotions. You would have cried. But you were able to move forward from there. You were able to close that chapter. You were able to think about the good memories, the positive times. You know that person is resting in peace. So you got that sense of closure. It was a lot more easier to move forward. Or you can start to care for yourself. You can get through the grief a lot more easier of starting the healing process. Because your primal brain is going to go against you. Okay, your primal brain wants to procreate and it thinks the woman that you were in a relationship with was part of your tribe. So you got to also convince your primal brain that she's no longer there. It'll eventually get the hint, but you need to dive deep into the grieving process and get started. Because that primal brain will play all sorts of tricks on you. And it did that with me, making the whole process of moving forward, overcoming the grief, starting the healing process, a lot more difficult. It kept extending because I had false hope in my mind, thinking that that person that I was in a 7-year relationship with might come back to me. I was delusional. And I was trapped in that never-ending cycle over and over again. And you got to be careful as well, because it could lead you down a path of self-sabotage, self-destruction, leaning towards vices. This personally happened to me because I felt so lost, so lonely, and I was trapped in those negative emotions, just anything to make me feel better. But I'm so grateful that breakup happened to me because it allowed me to heal, move forward the right way. But essentially, you need to focus now on yourself, okay? You need to be selfish. It's all about you now. And you need to start having practices in place or have tools in place to help you start the grieving process. And this is where you need to start caring for yourself. You need to get through your grief. We need to let those emotions out. We need to process those emotions. How do we do that? Well, it starts with your environment, okay? You need to create some sort of sanctuary. You need to do some sort of makeover in your room, in your house. You need to change things around because you can't be around the same environment. It's only going to trigger past memories. So what do? You can either relocate your furniture, you can paint your walls, apply some fresh paint, put some motivational posters around the house, change your bedding, so you can maybe get a new mattress, change your pillows. I would look at putting some indoor plants, great for oxygen, also giving you a calming effect. Music, play some relaxed, calming music. For those that don't know what music to listen to, but you want something calming, there's a channel that I listen to on YouTube, which is called Ethereal Odyssey, if you type that in. And it's literally just calming music with just calming sounds, no vocals, just calming sort of beats. You can get an oil diffuser. There are certain scents that you can get to calm your body, to calm your mind. Lighting, I'd go for something like soft or mellow lighting. But essentially you need a hub. You need a sanctuary where you can process your emotions. So now you've got the sanctuary, now you've got the environment that no longer will trigger memories. The next thing I want you to focus on is getting out in nature. Okay, you need to also get out of the house. You can't lock yourself in your house 24/7. You need to get out. So getting out in nature is a very calming experience for the soul. I know whenever I get out in nature, when I just go for a walk, no music, I just feel very peaceful. After I come back from that walk, I'm mentally charged. I'm mentally in a better position than I was before I went on the walk. But nature just does something special. You know, getting out in nature, go to maybe the beach, go to a nice park, a nice lookout, maybe go for a little bit of a trek, but you need to get out in nature, okay? That really helps with overcoming anxiety and depression because you're going through this grieving stage. Now, what you need to do, now that you've got the sanctuary, now that you know that nature's also gonna help you, you need to start to journal, okay? We get 60,000 thoughts per day. And if you're going through this breakup right now, majority, if not all of those thoughts are gonna be thinking about your breakup. You know, what you could have done better. Is that person gonna come back? I don't feel good enough. All these negative thoughts will be creeping in your mind. So to combat those negative thoughts, you need to put on paper, okay? You need to address what's bothering you. Why do you feel this way? You need to start to just let things out. There's no perfect way to journal, but I would start with just talking about what's bothering you. Write it down on paper. If you're upset right now, write down why you're upset. You know, go deep into the why with journaling. But journaling is something that's going to help you feel a lot more calmer, and it'll essentially shift your perspective on the whole situation. Once you journal, once you put pen to paper, you feel a lot more better. You feel a lot more, it feels like it's an outlet where you can let things out and you feel a lot more calmer after you do that. Trust me, you will feel a lot better once you start to journal. Now, deep breathing, this is also a very useful tool. I would recommend starting with 5 minutes of deep breathing and then increase it to about 10 minutes. But what you want to do is just focus on breath work, okay? You want to just focus on holding it and then let it out and just pay attention to the air coming up and the air coming out of your mouth. And essentially, when you keep doing this, you're going to start feeling a lot better. I'm telling you, before you start the deep breathing process, you're not going to feel too great, okay? But when you go into it and you start breathing and you do that consecutively for 5 minutes, trust me, you're going to feel a lot more better than before when you started the deep breathing exercise. And the last tool is having the right support network. You must reach out for help. You must reach out to either a family member or friend and just let them know, hey, look, I'm going through a really tough time right now. I need your help. Because what's going to happen is if you don't do that, and you think that you can fight this by yourself, overcome this loneliness that you're going through, you're going to basically go through severe anxiety and depression, okay? And I get it. When we're in relationships, especially long-term relationships, we can have a tendency of devoting a lot of our time and energy to the other person. And now that person's gone, we've lost sort of connections with maybe family members or friends. But this is where you can reach out. Because at the end of the day, your family or your friends, they should still be there for you. But I understand that some people just don't have, I guess, the opportunity to reach out to maybe family members or even friends. Maybe they live in different countries, different states, and it's just not an option right now. So what you need to do is you need to reach out for help. find someone who can help you. If this is something that you need help with, I can personally help you overcome this. I can help you overcome the grieving process and start to recover and build your frame again as a man. This is what I'm currently helping existing clients do. So if you need that help, please click the link down below, book a free coaching call with me, and I'll see if I can help you or not. So going back to what I was saying, you need to seek help, okay? You need to reach out. Because if we get stuck in our depression, in our anxiety, what's gonna happen is it's gonna lead us down the self-destructive path of vices. We're gonna wanna drink, maybe abuse substances, maybe go on dates with women or try and sleep with a bunch of women. We're gonna end up doing things that are gonna impact us and make us feel, shame, guilt, anger, regret towards ourselves. And you're already gone through a very low point that if you feel those extra added negative emotions, it's gonna hit you twice as hard. Me personally, I grieved the wrong way. I've done that. I went down the self-destructive path. I didn't have anyone to reach out to. And I kept everything bottled up inside. So I would just lean towards substances, alcohol, vices, and that made me feel twice as worse. So you need to understand that reaching out for help right now is not something that you should be ashamed of. Even if you've lost connection with friends, you need to reach out. But if you don't have any friends, and I understand a lot of men are very lonely these days, so I've given you the option to reach out and I can help you overcome this breakup because I've been through this myself and I'm helping others do the same. So look, I hope you got some sort of value from this because this is currently what you're more than likely facing or what you've experienced before in the past. And this is something that I experienced. I thought I was going crazy. I thought maybe it's just me. Why do I feel so broken? Why does it feel worse than experiencing a death when a loved one passes away? I thought it was just me. But after doing a lot of research and looking far deeper into the topic, the psychology behind it, I understood that a lot of men are in this position, right? So when we speak out, a lot of other men can relate to our stories. So again, if you've been through this before, if you're currently going through this, share your opinions, share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. It can always help other men who are going through this problem because your mental health is wealth. And at the end of the day, if you just keep quiet, if you stay in silence, you're only going to hurt yourself and we won't be able to impact the lives of other men who are going through this. So look, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me keep making more valuable content. And please share this video if you know someone going through a breakup right now. They're going through a breakup, they feel very lost, they feel very stuck. Please share this video, it can definitely help someone get started and start the grieving process. But look, ending the video here. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.